What's up, everybody? Welcome to the View from Jamestown podcast edition. This is episode 76. This is the June 2022 edition, and we are sitting down this morning with TCC President Robb Roach, Inside Sales Manager Nicole Greenberg, and VP of Sales and Marketing AJ Petrarca.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Beth.
How's it going?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Lady and gentlemen, I guess. We're without Javier this morning, as he's, I think, flying home from Dubai currently.
Yep.
So
That's tomorrow. Today's Thursday. He comes back Friday.
So
it's whatever, 6 hours ahead.
yeah, so he texted me, it was like 5 a.m. their time, but this was last night. He had an 8 a.m. flight, something like that.
Well, he's getting home just in time Friday night to leave Saturday morning for Cancun with his family.
Talk about
Out of his
he
mind.
just back to back.
It's like my worst
No more
nightmare.
travel hesitancy
Nope.
whatsoever.
God. Yeah, he's pushing his
Dubai
limits,
to
man.
Cancun.
Well, he's got some pent-up demand.
Yeah.
in his defense.
Oh, gosh.
So Javier is somewhere in the world, maybe on the world, maybe in the air. We don't know, but Javier's not here. Long story short. So holding down the fort here this morning. It is mid-June. It finally actually feels like summertime. We had the spring that seemed to be May and early June, so now it actually feels like summertime. We are a couple days post annual sales meeting. First sales meeting in person in a long time. That was a good week last week.
Great week last week. Good to see the whole team and get everyone together for the first time in a long time.
New
Definitely.
faces, old
Yeah.
faces. It was,
Been 3 years.
yeah, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think we look that much older.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, stop! No, I think everyone looks great. It was it was awesome to have the entire group back for the most part. You know.
Our creative team did a good little montage of the podcast, which was fun. I think we'll have a version of that ready to go live sometime soon, and we'll share that.
That was funny.
You sure you want that released? Encouraging that?
I mean, it's good content. You know, do it for the content.
You know what's so cool is to see the evolution and where you guys started. I mean, I've only ever seen the podcast studio, not the conference table next door where, the four of you are huddled and, Nick's there. But I mean, it's awesome to see how everything's evolved and, grown. I mean, who would have thought? What did you say?
Yeah,
76?
we have a room dedicated to this whole podcast situation.
Yeah, we were just talking about painting it and putting some bars up for some new lights. This thing's gonna look like a rocket ship in here.
Wow.
There was a good montage of my introduction, which was fun. I'd also like to see a montage of AJ's hair getting progressively grayer as we go on. If I'm on there, I think that'd be a good barometer of time.
We'll have to go back to when I started 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Jet black.
Oh, I love
The timeline of TCC by the grayness of AJ's hair. A 14-year historical documentary. Yeah, mid-June. It was nice to see everybody last week. Both inside people as well as some of our suppliers that were there. It was a good week, a long week. I'm sure Nicole's happy to stop talking about the sales meeting for the next 12 days before you start planning next year.
I was going to say, hey, you can't sleep on that, right?
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Everyone seemed to have a good time.
Yeah.
So thank you all for making it, awesome.
It was good. It was good. Jump right into it. Talking about company news. Obviously, we had 7, 8, 9 presentations from some of our suppliers last week. A lot of talk about sustainability and renewable products, which is certainly important, but interesting trying to nail down what's actually happening, what some of these goals that are reachable are. We saw post-sales meeting, one of our longtime suppliers, Perstorp, announcing the first 2EH product partially based on renewables. So it was a hot topic last week, maybe a little bit too hot of a topic, but a lot of talk about it last week.
Yeah, it was overwhelmed with sustainability. I think I was talking to AJ about it yesterday. I think companies don't really have much to talk about right now because
they don't know what's going to happen.
I want to bite my tongue here, but I think that they're fat and happy, and companies, big chemical companies right now, are more focused on buying and selling each other than making good products and their financial engineering. And the sustainability is according to some of the questions that I asked and were answered is valuable to other companies.
Yep.
So that don't have a sustainable footprint. So if you are a company that's whacking down the rainforest, to create products, you're going to buy a sustainable company to give yourself a little bit of a blessing, offset the fact that, so there's all this maneuvering, and I guess I'll stop there because it's really is, to me, it's wordsmithing, it really is. And everybody's trying to sell themselves as we're not bad. We're a chemical company. If people truly understand chemistry, they're not bad all the time. Sometimes there's some good and bad with every industry, but I don't see why. And back to the original point AJ and I were talking about, it's like, I don't really have much else to talk about.
Well, it's a good point. There's so many force majeures, materials so tight. There's nothing in some cases to sell. So it's maybe a good time, and it's kind of ramped up those sustainability talks because there's not really much else.
I'm not trying to downplay its importance, but it seems like rather than getting stuff done, they're just trying to do this psychological movement to get people's psychology thinking they're a wonderful company more than actual, because they're setting goals. 2030, we're going to do this. Well, who knows in 2027 when they just stop talking about it?
Yeah.
Or 2035, we're going to be this, and
or maybe make it 10% of a presentation instead of 60%.
Exactly. That might be that's a good start.
Yes, a lot of talk on that. Obviously, one of the buzzwords in the industry these days, and I think you're right. A lot of goals, a lot of talk out there, and we were talking on the Kathy Hall podcast, which was a shout out to our most recent episode here. We had Kathy Hall from Petrochem Wire on, and the sustainability piece came up, and we were kind of talking about, there's all these things happening, and even if 10% of them come true, those 10% of things will serve as a guideline for what the rest of the industry should do and can do. That'll work, and
I would
that'll
say
benefit the world.
Yeah, the chemical company is a very sustainable company. We've got to focus on sustainability. We're the most sustainable distributor in the whole industry. I'm just going to say it because nobody else is taking it. We are the most sustainable because we're looking to improve so much. And transportation and logistics is something we're looking at every day. How can we improve? Because that's really, you can build a sustainable molecule, but then you're going to throw it into a ship and a truck and a rail car. We're getting more rail cars so we can move less, use less fuel, make less, we're looking at the delivery aspect, the transactional piece and making building sustainability in that. So we'll let our producing partners look at sustainability within their production model and we'll handle it from there. So we are really, I'm not even kidding, we are trying to be the most sustainable.
Well, it sounds like every day Karen's sending an email, either something we're doing at the offices to be more sustainable than recycling, or talking about aggregating things that our suppliers are doing and putting together these portfolios. It's a huge focus.
Yeah, we are. We're building out even at our offices. We're doing, stuff like bird houses and butterfly breeding houses, and there's all sorts of crazy. Where we have facilities, all across the country that are now, they're wildlife. They're whatever they're called, they're wildlife centers or whatever. Yeah. And so if we're using a particular space to do something, the rest of it is being treated very well to get rid of invasive species and promote for wildlife and whatever. So it's every single day.
Very much so. Thinking about supply and demand, it's been, I think, an interesting month, hearing some mixed things about what demand's going to do if things coming off a little bit, maybe some waiting and seeing with propylene coming off. I know we saw some force majeures in Europe on things like 2EH, so that may affect downstream products and plasticizer availability. So I think maybe a bit of a in-between time with supply and demand here. Obviously supply a bit tight in general, but maybe demand's coming off, which is helping supply a little bit. I think we're kind of in maybe a flux type of period.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a hurricane hit in a month from now, and everything is going to go haywire because based on the way things have been going, that's coming. So, don't get comfy right now, So I'm calling it, man. The end of August, there's going to be a monster hurricane that's going to shellac the propylene. They're all concentrated, And fortunately, they're starting to understand that they're going to get hit at some point. So a lot of plants are now preparing for the worst, but still, you get that eye or near that eye wall of a hurricane, if that goes up the Mississippi or, forget about it. So all this, everybody waiting for things to change or happen right now, just keep in mind, we're right around the corner from hurricane season. Hurricane season is here. So,
well, we were just talking about, I think we might have put an article in the View. I know it was a consideration, at least, that, the first tropical storm hit Florida. So we're very much already getting into hurricane season, which is crazy to think about. We talked yesterday on the Kathy Hall podcast about that winter storm that obviously came and went, and then we talked about it for 18 months. Like, it made these massive impacts, and people were chasing you down for glycol pricing, and it was a crazy period, something we talked about for far longer than we thought we would. So something like that, whether it's a winter storm or hurricane, can make a massive impact. It's crazy to think about.
I mean, we're already preparing, we're moving, we're shifting inventories around, we're doing things, to make sure that if there is an impact, that we've got at least a portion of our supply covered. So it's, it's mid-June, it's the time to think about it.
That's a good way to put it. Supply maybe improving slightly, maybe demand's coming off a little bit, but don't get comfy with it. I like that.
I don't think you should. I think we're, as I explained in our sales meeting last week, I think we're in a wobble here.
Yeah.
People are concerned. Oil prices are going up. Gas prices are going up. Stock market's imploding. Interest rates are going up. People are thinking, oh, there's going to be a recession, or something's going to. No, it's not. We're not going to fall off a cliff. We're coming off of unusual demand. We're going back to, spending money more in restaurants and doing things like that rather than buying on Amazon and doing DIY projects. But, there's still a very big population on this earth that's demand, and they're there and they need things. So as much as we're getting to the point now where, maybe a little bit softening in demand, a little bit of this, a little bit that, we needed that. We needed to calm things down a little bit. But still, I'm bullish.
I think you're gonna be popular here in the next couple of months with packaged products.
I was just gonna
people
say,
stocking up inventories.
Yep. Even though we can't predict the future, it seems like that could be
'Tis the season.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, right?
Yeah, the packaged products bringing up inventory should be popular here next
It's like
month or two.
Christmas in July, right?
Yeah, something like that.
That hasn't stopped being popular since we started with it, right?
Really
That's
hasn't.
been a saving grace.
It's been steady, and I think it's helped a lot of people out, and also open their eyes up to just the availability. It's not just bulk. Look at your other options, and how can you be as efficient as possible. So it's been great.
Yeah, and that'll be a question, I think, as maybe if supply is improving, are people actual tote users? Do they want to use totes in the plant, or are they just using totes because you can't get bulk? It'll be interesting to see if things shift a little bit, or the packaged products stay as hot as they have been.
Definitely. Well, and we've seen that too, where a lot of people, even when they've been able to go back to bulk, they've still stuck with packaged, at least a portion. So that's great to see.
Yeah.
So
yeah. We talked a little bit yesterday. I guess I'll keep referencing the Kathy Hall podcast, but there's some great info in there.
She's fantastic. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah,
very much so. Looking at things like benzene, obviously, what did benzene just get to $7 a gallon?
Yeah,
record benzene.
I've never seen it above really $6 in my career. But Kathy Hall came from the party at the AFPM. I was talking to her there. I was like, "You should come on the podcast."
Yeah.
And I'll come on the podcast. So,
and then Ray tried to say it was his idea.
Come on, man. Of course he did. But no, that was a Richter party at AFPM. We're going to do that again this year, aren't we?
Sure
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a good. We got a lot done at that party, but yeah. So
made a lot of friends. Maybe a couple not friends.
We'll let Ray take credit for it. Spread that around. But it'd be nice to have Kathy on regularly. She's definitely somebody who's got a lot of knowledge, and specifically to benzene. I mean, right now benzene prices are just running up. There's a problem with supply and demand and imbalance. It's not just oil going through the roof, but you're seeing it in mixed xylenes and orthoxylene and phthalic and, all of these different products that are affected by, going from, 80 to 115 or 110 or $120 a barrel oil. The impacts are there. We're starting to see the price increases for June 1st coming across, especially on benzene-related products. You're going to see a big jump.
Yeah. And she made a good point too. Like, as we were doing the episode, I guess a couple of days benzene started coming off in Asia. I was like, well, do you think that's gonna change things here? But the fact that it could be 12, 16 weeks before any of that benzene actually sees the U.S. market, like the answer was kind of no, because it's it might be cheaper there, but you can't get it. Can't get it here timely.
Well, we just had our rail car meeting this morning on monitoring all of our rail cars, and now we were just looking at one lane. It was New Jersey to Kansas. I think it takes now 6 weeks to get there. I mean, it's
one way.
6 weeks.
Wow, that's crazy.
So we're only going to be able to turn this rail car 6 times a year, really. Like after all is said and done, that's 500 tons. I mean, there's something wrong here. There's too much traffic, or there's too many switches, or things are slowed. So the efficiency, that's going back to my sustainability thing. Like, the efficiency of your delivery system is huge because you're just burning that much more. You're creating that much more, pollutants or whatever for the delivery. So we have to really, we're not going to fix it ourselves, but we have to look at that. And, rail cars and packaged goods were a saving grace during the real supply and demand issues we've had of the last 3 years. I think they're going to continue to be. I think people are going to keep safety stock of packaged goods, and they're gonna fall back. And we're doing rail cars now to regions and allowing people to pick up in those regions. That's, again, we're saving a lot of fuel burning, going out to those regions. Then it's short hauls to our customers. So it's another way to add value in our transactions.
Act as a kind of mini short tanks wherever they are.
Exactly.
Shorter truckload rates.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if benzene keeps climbing. Maybe we see $8 benzene. Hopefully, maybe we don't. But
I think we're at the peak, and I think inflation's peaked, and we're past that too. So we're already seeing some of that. And I think being a small company still, we see things a little bit earlier. And I think that we're peaking out on inflation, even though we've seen 20-40% increase in the cost of gas and oil. We haven't really had that trickle down so much as a percentage of the price as we saw in like 09, 10, 11 when it went up to $120, $130 a barrel.
Yeah, it seems that was kind of a consensus in a lot of our supplier presentations, was that we're kind of at the peak and things are going to come down. People just don't know how quickly. It could be end of this year, could be end of next year. That's, I think, kind of the magic question.
Based on the hurricanes in the Gulf too, that's going to be, you see Uri. When we did a lot of our sales presentations over the last, because we haven't been together since COVID for the last 3 years, like the things that we looked at outside of COVID, that have become problems, have become issues, are unbelievable. You got that strike that just ended in Korea. That's been a tremendous impact on us because a lot of cargoes come out of China, go to Korea, and then come here, and things are getting bound up and they're getting impacted. The costs have risen so much. So we're a small world, and we were treating, things were just too fluid, and now they're, you're starting to see regionality again because of the costs. So, and I think that, again, that's another feather in our cap because we are in these geographies, we're local.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of announcements and investments in the U.S., new plants in the U.S., or additional resources here. So I think you're right. It's certainly
U.S. ain't going nowhere. We're doing really well here. Business-wise, the value of the dollar is good. We're up. Of course, stock market's in flux, but it was just over-invested. It really was. And
so we have the Logistix Company coming on here in a minute to give a freight update. One thing I did want to talk about that I know we're looking at is obviously shipments from China. We have our office in China, and I know some of our big products are kind of in the quieter season, so maybe not doing as much with China. But how has freight and logistics coming out of Asia been here recently?
It's still going slow. Like still a lot of delays. Yep. Prices are starting to come down a little bit, I think, on box containers, but ISO tanks are staying high. But yeah, things are just continuing. Like I expected, as prices were coming off on ocean freight, expected lead times to kind of improve, but it seems like lead times are worsening. If anything, it seems like everything's everything's still delayed, and so it's a weird time. Just it's, I don't know. I can't really make sense of why. Because the price is coming down is telling me that there's better supply of containers and shipping, but the lead times aren't telling the same story. Yeah.
What is like a box container rate these days? I haven't looked at it recently.
I think probably 11, 12,000 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Down from where we're at 22 or 23 at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we went from like 10 to 16 to 20, within like 3 episodes of what we were doing. So
yeah,
it's certainly, if you look at an $11,000 freight rate 3 years ago, I'd be like, that's terrible. But now it's like, oh, what a deal.
Yeah. And we're also having problems. Like we do some business where we export from the U.S. to other places, and we, there's like a month or 2 lead time just to get a container, just to load at the warehouse. So in the past it'd be there like in a day or up to a week maybe. But it's definitely a big consideration. But people are used to planning for long lead times, so it's not it's just something that folks are kind of used to at this point after the last couple of years.
Which sounds like the concern with ISOs too. You just can't get, there's limited containers, but there's even more limited ISO containers. You just can't get them.
Yeah. Yep. Just supply and demand. Yep. Just, once something gets delivered here, and it just takes a while to get to, where it's going. It's just a big backlog that's going to take a while to catch up.
And along the China front, we've seen some of the tariff exemptions come back into play for new shipments, and maybe some rumblings about those tariffs kind of getting removed altogether. There's been more conversations recently, obviously nothing firm, but we've heard some rumors of all that.
Yeah, there was a group of chemicals or a group of products that the exemption was reinstated, I think in April of this year. And I think that the sentiment from a lot of people is that there's pressure for the tariffs to go away altogether, but I don't have any concrete data on that, concrete info on that. But
we'll have Biden call into the next call and see what's actually going on.
Yeah,
get some inside info here.
Can we get him here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's going to change a lot of things. If and when that does go away, because that 25% is a huge factor, obviously. So that's going to change the dynamics on a lot of products that we handle and are active in. So we're keeping a close eye on it.
I think one of the interesting things with that too is not just how it affects us in the U.S., but obviously when the tariffs came into play, China all of a sudden became a lot more competitive for like Javi in Latin America and Mexico. So obviously that'll change his day-to-day too. Whether he's supplying Chinese material or competing with it, it's going to change that landscape.
For sure.
It's interesting, all the trickle-down effects. Anything else on China?
No, but while you're on tariffs and taxes, there's a Superfund Tax that it's been a big topic of conversation, and I don't know if that was on your list to go over. Or
it wasn't, but we should.
Okay.
We should. It should
I blindsided you with that a little bit.
It should come up. It should come up.
It's just, it's part of the overall bill that was for infrastructure. They slid in this old school tax on Superfund, basically money to be accumulated for when and if there's a spill. Yep. Superfund is a site that's polluted, and it applies to only certain products, and then we have the schedules of the different products, and it's effective July 1st. So
some are minimal amounts, some are pretty significant.
Yeah, some of them are pretty significant. I mean, it impacts if you just are bringing a product across the border from Canada or Mexico, or you're manufacturing it. So there isn't anybody that isn't, going to be impacted by this tax if you're using any of these scheduled products. With that said, which is a term I hate, but with that said, we are going to be adding a separate line item on. This is sort of like a value-added tax, or it's passable to the customer. We're going to get taxed. We're going to pass it along, and somehow we'll figure this out. I don't think it's going to happen by July 1st, and then I also want to predict that in the changing landscape of politics, I see it being eliminated in a couple of years, because you're going to have a Republican president if there's this much headwinds for business. People are getting sick of it, you know. So you're going to see a red wave, in a couple of years. And so, something's got to change, because there's a lot of people that are very upset about this.
So something that goes into effect in July, I know a lot of companies and people are talking about it, putting out correspondence on whether it's going to be an added line item or how companies are going to handle it. So I know something we're working on, and we'll send something out before the next episode, and maybe we can get a Karen introduction on the next episode and talk a little bit about what that means for a company and what we're doing about it.
It's scary how few people have a good handle on exactly what it is and how to deal with it, right? Like, we're 2 weeks away from it being implemented, but we're still getting calls like, "Hey, what are you guys doing on this? Like, what do we do?" You know? So it's I don't know. It's gonna be. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a push to get it extended to the implementation to be extended. I think there's a good case for that, but we'll see how it plays.
The same thing happened with the tariffs. There was just overnight. There's tariffs, and so there was a lot of issues that came along with that, which we're involved in now. The exemptions. The tariff is on products if they're not manufactured here in the USA. Like, a tariff is if you're manufacturing, you want to balance the competitiveness between an imported product and a domestically made product. Well, a lot of the products that we're buying from China aren't made anywhere else but China, so therefore the tariff shouldn't apply. So again, it was just sort of like our government just throws this stuff out there, and I don't even think they understand it. They're just like, and by the way, the federal and state level taxes are overwhelming. They're getting so much money. Why do they need more money now? They have so much money coming in from all the stimuluses and all the business growth and all the things they did for COVID. I mean, it's just, the taxation is ridiculous. You know?
And obviously us being a relatively smaller company, we can make decisions and do things pretty quickly. We got to figure out what to do about it. And then you have massive corporations that have a lot more red tape, and they got to figure out how they're going to handle it and get things approved. And
they didn't even give us the time to figure that out.
Yeah, everyone's got to wrap their head around it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. So more to come on that. Between our correspondence, obviously a lot of info out there, and then maybe look at having Karen come on here soon and talk more about it as well, because I think you're right. There's a lot of questions and things that people are interested in about it. So
more questions than answers,
yes,
as far as I can tell right now.
Yes, when our teams and people that should know a lot about it are also asking questions, there's probably some unanswered things out there, from the government. So more to come on that, I think, is the short story. But at this point, we're going to move into a freight update, courtesy of the Logistix Company. Hey, Joe, Jamie, what's going on?
Ben, how we doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. One of you is way louder, one of you is way quieter. We gotta.
Sorry.
Don't be shy, Joe. Don't be shy.
We're okay. We're okay.
What's happening? How you guys doing?
We're doing busy, very busy, as always.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Things in the freight world are going well. I don't know. I don't want to say smooth.
As well as they go. Yeah. It's freight.
Very nice. Very nice. It's been a busy couple months. A lot of trade shows, travel, especially for you, Joe, both on the customer side and the, looking for new carriers and partners and things like that. So, been a good couple months, hopefully, for you.
Yeah, we're getting back to following up on all of the trade show conversations, introductions, relationships that we were able to build upon, and it's been a busy couple of weeks for sure. Following that.
Absolutely. I guess jump right into it, Jamie. How's the logistics world these days? What are the core logistics formats that are keeping you up at night? How's things going?
I think things are definitely going a little bit better than they had at other points in the year that we had talked about before. Maybe going back a couple quarters ago, a few months ago, something like that. Fuel is still an issue, as all of us know. Even just filling up our own personal cars to come into work every day.
Yep.
We're still seeing the high fuel surcharges across the board. That lags like a week behind what you see on the streets, so that's a good way to know if what to expect with the fuel going forward. Is if you see it going up at your local gas pump, it's probably going to be going up for everyone else in the coming weeks.
Makes sense.
Trucking is it seems to have plateaued a little bit. Where you're still seeing some tightness out there, but there's definitely some pockets of availability opening up. Ocean freight, things are still a little tight right now. There are some folks out there seeing, maybe like a wave of incoming imports from Shanghai and things and other places, ports in the Pacific after some of the lockdowns over there.
Sure. That truck availability, do you think are there more drivers or trucks being brought on? Do you think demand has slowed down? Maybe the two of those are working kind of in coordination. I know on the TCC side, we've maybe started to see demand softening a little bit. So maybe that's played a role in allowing trucking to ease up a bit.
I think especially in the dry van world, it's definitely starting to open up a little bit more. The longer haul stuff is still tricky at times, especially depending on what region to region you're looking at. But I think some of the shorter dry van stuff is definitely starting to open up. Obviously, a good indication of that is the tender rejection. I think we talked about that last time. And we're starting to see those on the decline. And that's usually a pretty good indication of exactly where the dry van capacity is.
Yeah.
Liquid bulk, again, still slow to meet that type of capacity, but we're definitely seeing the dry van opening up.
I'd assume you'd see like dry van, LTL, liquid bulk ease up or get tighter quicker or faster than like rail or ocean freight, because you can book more or less trucks in a week, but rail is usually a bit of a longer thought process and time process, and ocean freight may be 8, 10, 12 weeks behind as things either get tighter or loosen up.
Yeah, all the truck shipments are really, to your point, much of a shorter term process, and you're not planning out weeks, months ahead of time,
right?
Like you might be for rail or ocean. I think demand softening is probably the leading cause of some of the capacity we're seeing open up, and in some cases that might be a chicken and egg situation where the demand is softening because some things can't be delivered on time, which is, causing more availability to open up. So it's kind of a tumultuous situation. But
Yeah, and then you talk about inflation and rate hikes and all this other good stuff and how that may or may not affect things. Like there's a bit of a wait and see type of deal going on with maybe customers don't want to buy as much material or pre-buy as much and are kind of waiting, which obviously opens up some of the trucking capacity that may not have been there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just again, TLC being as diverse as we are, opens up other opportunities to discover warehousing, repackaging, all those different opportunities that some people, to your point, if they have material, well, if I can't necessarily meet the forecast that we thought we had, now we have to find some solutions for that.
Yeah. We talked a bit before about totes and drums and transloading and things like that. That's been, maybe companies that historically took bulk are now looking at taking a truckload of totes to have as a backup stock. I know things like actually getting the physical IBC totes had been a problem for a little while. Are you still seeing problems on getting physical totes and drums, or has things kind of eased up a bit?
I think it's eased up a little. I mean, it's still definitely, tighter than, we had seen in years past. But I think it's definitely opened up a little.
Proven a bit.
It's like some of the other truckload things, and it's kind of like plateaued, and, everyone's kind of figured out where we're at for the time being, at least.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely helped the market.
Yeah.
And hopefully the receiver can actually utilize said totes and drums. It's nice to have, but not everybody can actually
use them.
Yeah.
It's a good question. We were talking a bit before we started recording. Obviously, Joe, you handling more of the sales type stuff, and Jamie being on more of the operations and dispatching side of things. You each have your own unique perspectives on the freight world and inquiries you're getting and talking to customers. We talk a lot on the TCC side that if I think more customers, more suppliers listen to whether it's our podcast or other information out there, there'd be a whole lot better. People would be better informed, kind of understand what's going on. As we see things a lot of time far ahead of the industry. So if there was 2-3 things that you could tell your customers or your supply chain contacts or whoever it is, what are 2 or 3 things you'd love all of your contacts to know and understand, whether it's a matter of how to make their freight lives easier or kind of any one of those things. I know you each have a kind of unique perspective on it, so curious to hear what you'd love to hammer home into each of your contacts.
Just from a sales perspective, obviously the more flexible you can be as a shipper or receiver, the better off, to the point of being able to actually accept totes, drums, opens up a lot more possibilities to what we can potentially do. And in that vein, being flexible to potentially not just do the same route. Maybe there is an opportunity to move it from an ISO import to a bulk tanker, anything along those lines, just given the constraints that, we're seeing even in some drayage requests, that would be my biggest takeaway, is just be as flexible as possible.
Yeah, I think something we've seen recently too is, can you actually not physically unload an ISO container, or do you just not want to?
Right.
Because those are 2 different things. I understand you may not want to, but if that's going to get it to you 3 days quicker, or $1,000 cheaper, whatever it is, let's talk about it.
And I think that's a huge point, right? A short-term investment could lead to a much longer-term solve for you.
Yeah.
And some people balk it. Well, I have to do what to be able to unload this? Well, you just open up yourself to that much more capacity,
right,
or that much more opportunity to be able to receive this product.
Even if it means paying your warehouse guys an extra $100 to run some hose or whatever it is, that's a
Install some equipment. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, along that same line, you get into even like tank trucks themselves. Even you have, the rear unload versus the center unload, and sometimes that just comes down to, do you have 20 more feet of hose?
Right.
Which could just be $2,000 or something, which is a considerable amount of money for some operations. And it's just how will that affect me going forward? Will that mean that I can get 10 times more material? Because that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is that there are a lot more rear unload tank trailers out there than there are centers. So the availability changes a lot, and sometimes there's some products you can't put in a center unload. So you have different things that come up with that. I guess the other thing that I would think about is just when you're looking at some of your operations from the supply chain aspect, take the time to go through and plan out ahead of time, and try and vet different options to see really what does make the most sense, both from availability, cost, just look at all the aspects of the situation.
Yeah. What about some of like your rail customers? I know obviously that's been a growing aspect for TLC. I know I personally have learned a ton about rail logistics and what goes into it and why something takes an extra couple weeks and how backed up the rail lines can get. If you had a customer that was maybe buying 10 truckloads a month and they switched to starting to buy 2 rail cars a month and may not know a lot about rail, what's one or two things you'd hammer home to a rail customer aside from expect delays? Because I know that's always the starting point,
Yeah.
which is true and unfortunate. But
Not getting better right now.
what else goes into it that you'd love rail customers to know and understand?
Yeah, I mean, I know we don't want to start off hammering that one home, but yeah, I mean, definitely right away expect delays. Plan out if it should be. Someone's looking at it and telling you it's probably 2 to 3 weeks transit. Plan for 4. Plan for 5.
Yep.
Like it's
5.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, with a lot of the rail lines, there's not too much we can do.
Yeah.
There are some things going on right now involving the federal government and things trying to get involved and help alleviate the situation. But the truth of the matter is that, for the most part, the rail lines are large monopolies.
Yeah.
And it's just, it is what it is on transit time with them, unfortunately. But I mean, aside from that, it can still, as long as you plan for delays, as long as you plan for, different inconveniences that might happen, I mean, for the most part, it's still a good, viable way to get your product delivered to you. Especially if you can take the car in directly. If you have to deal with transloading, it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yep.
Because you do end up dipping back into the driver pool. But I mean, for the most part, it's still a great way to do it.
And if you could take them in directly, and if you maybe get a 2-week delay, but you have a 2-week delay to essentially receive 4 truckloads versus 4 individual trucks, that could be a week delay. That truck could be a month delay, which we've seen a handful of times on certain lanes. So at the end of the day, which delay would you prefer? I mean, 2 weeks to end up getting 4 trucks.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a bad deal.
And especially if you're, utilizing rail, you're probably from point A to point B is a pretty long distance. So you instantly open yourself up to way more capacity, in that regard. It is an archaic system, unfortunately, to Jamie's point. They're trying to, build some better infrastructure. The communication can be challenging. But again, that's, a much more efficient way to move large quantities if you have that. I don't need it tomorrow.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Makes sense. Yeah. I'm sure they answered a lot of these same questions. A couple trade shows coming up here in the next couple weeks. I think you'll have some travel coming up.
Yeah. So I'll be down in Charleston end of the month for the Chem and Agro show down there, and going to be having a child in July, so might be hitting
coming up fast.
Very fast. So probably hitting the pause on any immediate shows, but that's the one on the purview right now.
Yeah, it should be a good show, and it will be there as well. One of the better shows we do in a year.
Absolutely.
I think it's already looking exceptionally well attended, so looking forward to that one.
That's definitely a great one.
And I know depending where someone's streaming this podcast now, obviously these clips and episodes featuring the logistics companies, on your guys' LinkedIn page as well as YouTube and things like that. So a lot of avenues to stream the podcast here
Absolutely.
for you guys. It's a lot of places we can find you at.
Absolutely. Reach out if there's any need or anything we can assist with.
Yeah. Well, Joe, Jamie, thank you for taking some time. Good chatting with you guys. We'll see you at the Charleston show here coming up soon.
Absolutely.
And if we don't have you on prior to baby number 2 coming in, congratulations.
Thanks.
And hope everything goes well.
Appreciate it, Ben. Thanks again.
Thanks for the time, Ben.
Thanks, guys. All right, moving on. Price updates and trends. We are mid-June, so thinking about obviously what's happening with things like the stock market mid-June, and then starting to hear some rumblings about price changes coming for July 1st. I know obviously large increases in benzene. The last benzene contract was $4.79. We're tracking spot benzene over $7. Crude, natural gas, both at elevated levels. Propylene came down early June, so we'll see what happens with propylene for next month. A lot of question marks on pricing, I think, coming up for July 1st.
Yeah, I mean, inavailability of product is still there on a lot of these products, and I think people are nervous. You see the Dow below 30,000. We're starting to see some demand downstream fade a little bit, but that also opens up opportunities. I think that before business was crazy, but it wasn't fun, and things are getting a little bit more rational right now. So But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see things like propylene going down with benzene going up and oil and gas going up, so it's, there's this divergence going on, and and that could be upended very quickly with a hurricane in the Gulf. So we just, so that's one little piece that everybody seems to be hanging their hat on. Well, prices should come down because of this. You still got really high freight rates. You still have not a lot of product available. You still have COVID shut down in China, which again, that's another factor because there's less demand in China with their COVID shut down. So as soon as they come back, that demand will pop. But we'll see these. You certainly highlighted benzene, ethylene's up, crude is up, gas is up. Gasoline.
Crazy.
I filled up my truck the other day. It was $160.
I get cut off at the pump constantly.
They stopped cutting off.
They just stopped doing that.
Used to be $100 cutoff, and that would give me like a little better than a half a tank.
Have you filled the boat recently?
I filled it once.
That's
filled it once. Yeah, luckily it was only like 250 gallons, but that was like.
Only.
Oh yeah.
But that was the equivalent of 3 fill-ups. The cost last year, you know what I mean? We started doing the numbers, and we were like, we could have filled the boat 3 times last year for the same price that we're paying this year.
What's marine diesel running right now per gallon?
It was like 6 and change,
Oh, so it's not that much more
Well,
than...
I have a commercial license, so we get the taxes cut off. So gasoline, you don't get the taxes cut off, but with a commercial license, you get the at least the some of the taxes taken off. So it's not as bad for me as if it was gasoline. I think somebody was saying that the Big Rock tournament, which is a big marlin tournament, they locked everybody in at $8.
$8 a gallon?
$8 a gallon, yeah.
What is diesel? What is marine diesel if you weren't commercial? Do you know?
It'd probably be up around that, around $8 because there's that much. I mean, the taxes are a percentage of the price, so as the price rises, so do the tax. Another reason why our lovely government is making so much money right now.
So $8 times.
And by the way, this is fueling the war in Russia. I mean, Russian oil is now worth so much more. These guys are gloating on this. You wonder if this stuff it's awful, but are they like doing this on purpose? It's like crazy.
So $8 a gallon times 250, that's like $400,000.
Take a mortgage out.
It's crazy.
Oh man.
It is crazy.
What a time to be alive.
Impacting. Yeah, it's impacting everybody. It really is. I mean, you're starting to see people like, we got to drive to that lacrosse game in Massachusetts. I don't know if I want to go drive all the way to Massachusetts. Like the freedom that we have to just drive anywhere is starting to kind of we're also from Rhode Island, so a 20-minute drive.
Right.
Forget about it. I got to drive 20 minutes. I'm not going, so.
Yeah, Corey drives 4 hours to the grocery store in Texas. Like, oh yeah, simple, short. Different world. Anything else on pricing? I guess you're expecting things to keep coming up for July. I think is kind of the overall.
We're in the midst of the driving season. There's a lot of vacations, a lot of people going driving right now, despite the cost. So I think we're going to peak out the next month or so in terms of these different costs. And with these prices, you're going to see a big uptick in fracking and our own energy production. Yep. So maybe that'll have an impact in the short term.
And so between that and hurricane season coming up, not a bad time to send Nicole a WhatsApp, get some totes of material in stock.
I know. I've got to get on Javi's WhatsApp level. That's it's different without him here. You can't throw that WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Do the WhatsApp button up there?
Thing.
No. Next time.
But no, yeah. Did we ever get Javi the shirt?
We need to.
Oh, okay. We definitely should.
It's on the list.
Yep.
It's on the list. Featured products, seasonal products, or new products for June. I think the one we want to talk about here today was HMD, managed by our very own AJ Petrarca.
Hexamethylene diamine. Not really a new product for us, but just one that's exciting. It's very much a specialty chemical. We make different solutions and package into drums and totes and tank trucks. So it's a fun product and have great support from our producing partner Vista. It's it's a good one for us.
Big use in things like nylon, which goes into like string trimmer line, one of our favorite pastimes.
Yeah, so there is some seasonality. So string trimmer line, fishing line, things like that. So anything nylon polymer is the big driver for HMD. So I enjoy both string trimmer line and fishing line this time of year. So I'm a big advocate.
No surprise, AJ manages that product. There's some rhymeries in there.
Yep.
So they were doing tank trucks, totes, drums, various concentrations. What is it? 100, 80, 70, 85.
Yes, 70, 85, 90, and the anhydrous are the most common flavors.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're right.
Not
Not
that
something.
I'd suggest tasting.
Yeah, flavor. Let's back out that flavor. But yeah, you're right. Not a brand new product per se for us, but something we've been doing here, and I think we're at the point now. We've done it for a little while. You've done it for a little while, and are comfortable with our supply chains, the packaging, and whatnot. So good product to talk about here.
Yep.
And grow over the coming years. Again, with one of our great producing partners. So good product to send AJ a WhatsApp on this time.
Don't WhatsApp me. I'll definitely miss it. Just give me a call.
Old school. I like it.
Yep.
And then some trade shows coming up. You want to run us through some trade shows here?
Yeah, so as we discussed, Javi is somewhere in the world coming back from the Middle Eastern.
In or above. We don't really know.
But he's coming back from the Middle Eastern.
But we know he's in
coding
first
show.
class.
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
Right?
Whether he's on the ground or in the air, he's in first class.
He's on the concierge level or the first class.
Love it. Well, so we have Javi flying back here before he then goes to Cancun. Good for him getting out there. We've got Chemicals America in a week and a half?
Mr. Worldwide over here. You need that. What was that, Pitbull?
Yeah, that's Pitbull. We need the sunglasses. You know what? The T-shirt, the sunglasses. We'll have a whole.
We'll Photoshop him right next to AJ there, Mr. Worldwide.
I love it. So a good group of us will be down at the Chemicals America in Charleston. We've got a booth. I believe it's 709. Come visit us. We've got meetings set up. The attendance on that looks. I know, Ben.
No.
The running joke.
No. Separate comment. We now have. Can I see your paper here? I'm gonna show the camera here this. So we have our fancy new automated email signatures going on. So everyone now has this little. Where should I look? Tie here. Got this little banner on our emails showing our booth number. And Corey Mullins calls me this morning and says, "Hey, what's our booth number?" I'm like, dude, have you sent an email today? Like,
I think I asked you yesterday what our booth number was. Like, I did the same thing.
But you know what? I mean, it's great. I saw it pop up and I was like, holy moly, there it is. I mean, and I think it's great because, hey.
Marketing tools at work, IT tools at work.
Fantastic.
Stuff,
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So we're going to be down there, super excited. I mean, the attendance list is quite robust.
Crazy.
So that should be a fantastic show. Looking forward to that.
Is that paper? Hey, we're
yeah.
paperless around here. Come on.
Trying to be sustainable, Nicole.
The reason
I know. Well, I'm old fashioned like that,
Okay.
but we'll work on it. I'll get my iPad next time. So we've also got Southwestern Fertilizer show coming up in Nashville. That's mid-July. We've got our own AJ Petrarca. Corey Mullins will be down there. Don't WhatsApp him. Call him direct to set up a meeting on that one.
Nashville in July. That show knows how to pick them.
Well, but how about ICAST, which is still, I think, on our radar? Orlando in July
Also
as well. Oh, those two back-to-back, man, that's brutal. But, hey.
Losing some weight walking around.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, hey.
Sweating some pounds off.
Hopefully, you guys get some relief there. But, yeah, so some awesome stuff coming up in the pipeline. And, just glad that everything's kept flowing along. It's been great to get out. And, we're looking forward to seeing everyone in Charleston and just under a week and a half now. So
and the Charleston show in June is always cool because it kind of feels like almost like the end of kind of trade show season. I think the AFBM really sort of kicks stuff off, and then some years you have the coding show or NP, a couple of the shows, and then usually I think from like June through maybe September it's kind of quieter for the summertime. So kind of a nice sort of wrap up to I guess trade show season. Then obviously picks back up for the winter months, fall months.
for sure.
Wrapping things up, we've had some good additional episodes out. We just recently, I think even just today, launched the 3-part miniseries with Avonic. That's a 3-part collaboration talking about some myths and correcting some myths around phthalates and phthalate plasticizers. So those 3 episodes are out. You can stream the full episodes. We'll also have a wide variety of clips of each of the myths we debunk, as well as just some sound bites on places like LinkedIn and YouTube. So a lot of good stuff coming out there. The Petrochem Wire episode should be out here soon with Kathy Hall as well. As Rob said, a wealth of knowledge, really knows her stuff, knows the industry very well. I've never seen someone smile so big when you mention a word like ethylene. So
Great person too.
very
Just a
much
great
so.
person.
So that episode will be out here soon. Hopefully have her on with some frequency, because as I said, she's a wealth of knowledge too. And working on some other ones. Obviously, we have our monthly episodes. We're happy to have our logistics partner on. Some of these view episodes. Thinking about having people at the NACD on. Some of our team, Steve Friedewald and Ray Altenberger, and some of these people that have been around the industry a long time. Tapping into some of that knowledge. So a lot of good stuff coming up. I think we're excited about the podcast and getting more content out there and using it as a to be the best partner we can for both our customers and suppliers.
Absolutely.
I just want to highlight, somebody recently said that they, that they used some information from our podcast to make a financial investing decision. I wouldn't advise, I'd strongly advise against that practice.
We are not financial advisors.
Yep.
We don't know the future. We're making educated guesses, and even that educated might be a strong word.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that's funny.
Don't hedge any risk based on us.
But you guys said, AJ said this one thing that one time.
I don't remember saying it, so.
They roll back the clip. You're like, oh, I might have said that, but I didn't mean it in that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was the funniest thing looking at that clip you guys made too of like the prior episodes, like just the different situations we've had, and like I think we all looked a lot younger at the time. Like you don't think it was that long ago, but we've been doing it 4 years. It's cool having the video part for so long of it, because you just see how everyone's kind of grown and changed.
Yeah, that was funny.
It's been fun.
Yeah, it's been a good ride.
I think what did you estimate? 10 episodes, 12 episodes when we first started doing it? Like, if we do 10, it'll be good.
What is it, 76?
70. It's crazy.
If it was up to me and Rob, it would have ended at 10, I think.
Yeah,
We wouldn't
I
be
don't
here
know.
right now if it wasn't
No.
for you, Benny.
Appreciate that.
Definitely not.
Appreciate
It's
you
all
guys.
you, Benny.
Appreciate you guys
Appreciate it.
sticking with me. Anything else? I think that kind of wraps things up. And we're trying to keep it to a concise episode, but a lot going on, a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff. But yeah, as always, thank you for listening. Appreciate you streaming either the video version on our website, LinkedIn, YouTube, or the audio version, where we get your podcast. So as always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for streaming the View from Jamestown podcast edition.
Like and subscribe for more.